Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this edition of the 700 Club. A federal judge has said, in his opinion, it seems as if the NSA is breaking the Constitution. But he didn't rule definitively, and this decision has got to go up the line, circuit court, and then probably the federal court, the Supreme Court. But I've been very uncomfortable with all of the spying, these huge metadata gatherings. You know, they can watch everything. Terry, it's awful what they can do.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't appear that this is the final decision, but you don't know. I mean, this could change everything for Snowden.
It could. Well, Snowden, I mean, hey, he wants to go to Brazil now. Brazil's a nice country, and he wants to go down to Brazil. And we've done a lot of spying on Brazil. We spied on their oil company, Petrobras. We spied on their president's emails and cell phones. We've spied on everything they're doing, and Snowden says, look, I've got a bunch of stuff to show you, let me in.
Wow.
But it's a question of whether he's really broken any laws. And you know, but anyhow, we'll see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. But we do have a judiciary that I've been quite critical of from time to time, but sometimes they stand for freedom and liberty. And this was a case I believe the ACLU was responsible for bringing. And hey, it's a good first step.
It is a good first step, right. But that said, the battle is far from over. The Obama administration says the spying is necessary because we need to know who's talking on the phone and when in order to prevent terrorism. Heather Sells has the latest.
The ruling sharply rebuked the government's program that collects millions of Americans' phone records. U.S. District Court Judge Richard Leon, a Bush appointee, says it likely violates the constitutional ban on unreasonable search.
A federal judge is finally pushing back, is finally saying to the NSA, no, in fact, mass collection of phone records without individualized suspicion is not legal.
The judge even called the program, quote, almost Orwellian. But the president has long maintained that it merely tracks who Americans talk to on the phone and from where.
Nobody is listening to your telephone calls. That's not what this program's about.
Bottom line, says Obama, the program keeps us safe.
We've saved lives. We know of at least 50 threats that have been averted because of this information.
Judge Leon, however, maintains there's no evidence that the program has prevented a terrorist attack. The ruling is a boost for fugitive NSA contractor Edward Snowden, who exposed the program by leaking classified documents. But the Obama administration was clear on Monday there will be no amnesty for Snowden, who remains in Russia on temporary asylum.
Mr. Snowden has been accused of leaking classified information, and he faces felony charges here in the United States.
Monday's ruling is considered more of an opening salvo in the battle over privacy and Americans' phone records. The judge stayed his own ruling pending an expected appeal by the government. Many predict the Supreme Court will ultimately decide just how far the government can go in keeping tabs on who Americans talk to. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Thanks, Heather. I'm very uncomfortable with that NSA, what they're doing. It's just so intrusive and so enormous. You know, that book, 1984, about Big Brother didn't have the technology we have, and yet it was a total control of the population. We have now we know exactly where somebody is, have eyes in the skies, GPS, satellite, da-da-da-da-da. You got chips in your cell phone. You carry a cell phone around with you. They know exactly where that is. You got GPS on your car. They know exactly what you're doing, and they can track every movement that you make. Now they can look at your emails. You can look at your cell phones. You can look at everything that you do. And that isn't comfortable. You say, well, it's to preserve freedom, but what if the bad guys take over the government? They'll have you by the throat, and there'll be absolute population control, and that's why we need to fight this thing. I know we say, well, it'll avoid some catastrophe. Well, I don't know. some underwear bomber someplace might blow up a plane, and I know that's terrible, but nevertheless, are we going to give up the freedom of the entire nation and the chance that there might be an event someplace? The answer is no.